And yeah, we can get started on it. So I'm gonna save some images of it here on the desktop. I'm a little confused on the detail here in the back. So we're going to do the best we can. Like sometimes it looks a little bit different on different chairs, exactly what's happening there. But I think this is just a round piece that goes down, and then there's like two pieces that sort of like hooked underneath here, I think. But we can build this thing to actually work too. So, and yeah, all right, let's just get started on it. So this is me doing some cloth simulation tests. But what we need to do is we need to make two different splines here. So I'm going to try and do as much of this as possible with symmetry. And I'll show you some tools that I'll use to get this as close as possible. So I think this goes down here. Then it'll go back. So first thing we need to do here is even out these lines. I use the set point value tool, MUU. It's MU for you guys, it's MUU for me. And then we go center, hit apply, and that'll straighten those out. So we did along the y-axis. This one will go MUX in my case, but MUU for you, and then set the X. And then we'll do it for all the other ones. So MUY, and then MUX. So I'm just using my little macro that I built for straightening things out. And we can adjust everything. Okay, so this guy needs to get moved over to 0. Moved over to 0. And I think the rest of it should be in good shape here. What I'm going to do first here is I'm going to do the front to back adjustment on it. What we need to do is we need to pay attention to the proportions here. So this front part doesn't look like it goes as far down on mine as it does on the real chair. Ideally, what we'd want is we'd want planar views of this to get it. But we're gonna learn from eyeballing it here as much as we possibly can. Good eyeballing practice. Good skill to have. Okay, I'm gonna say that's probably good. And now what we need to do is we need to duplicate this spline. So I'm gonna go Control C. And this one I'm going to move to the back like this. And I believe that it goes further down in the back slightly. Nope, it's further down in the front and less further down in the back. So cool. So further down in the front, less far down in the back. So this is going to get adjusted. And then maybe the front needs to come down a touch. Okay. All right, so that's good. That looks about right, but I can't say for certain. So what we're going to do now is we are going to connect them together. So I'm just doing connect objects and delete. And we can do a pen tool between the two parts, just like that. And now the two parts I think are completely connected to each other. So if we go in with a sweep, let's see what happens. Woo, too big. Go down to like 5 maybe. That's about right. Let's add subdivisions to it. We don't want to add too many subdivisions because we're going to do a sweep on it anyway. Okay, so next thing we need to do is round off these corners here. And to do that, we're going to use the chamfer tools. And to do that, we're going to go right click and we're going to chamfer. And what this will do is it'll add the rounding that we're looking for there. And all of this can still get edited. So if you're concerned about your proportions or whatever, you can go in and adjust them. like that. Okay, so this is good, and we can now symmetry this like that, and this will give you a better sense of the proportions that you've got going on here. Obviously, I think it's a little bit too big. So now what we do on one side will be transferred over to the other. Okay. All right, I'm going to call that good. And let's take a look back at our chair here, which we saved to the desktop. I opened the wrong one again. Oops, that's not what we want. View and default. I think I made it too tall. And I don't think the poles are thick enough. Too thick. I think it's about right. Sorry, I'm just doing a spot check here. I think my chamfers might be too big, which is kind of a problem because I can't adjust those again. So we're just going to call it close enough. This looks about right. And the width looks about right too. Okay, so what we need to do now is we need to make this angled piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it from the side view here. It goes down from here to here-ish. So what we're going to do here is we're going to grab this and drag it over so that it's sitting in the right spot. And I'm going to come back with the pen tool, and we're going to go over here. Okay, so that's that part, M-U-Z, M-U-X, just to straighten everything out. And then we're going to zero this out too. I don't know what my controls are great at down there. Okay, 0. Okay, that is good. This needs to get rounded. Chamfer, hit apply is probably about close enough. And one thing that we can also do with this piece here to make it a little easier to work with is to align the axis of it. So currently the axis is just sitting out here for no reason with one of the edges. That way we can rotate it more easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into here and I'm going to enable snap. And okay, so now this has been aligned with this. And if we need to ever adjust our chair here, we can do it down here like this. One other thing we can do is we can also rotate this. So this is axis edit mode, which allows us to arrange it what we can do is we can zoom in here and make sure that we've got it perfectly aligned, or at least as perfectly aligned as we can. It's pretty close. Good. And that should work by the looks of it. So I'm going to copy the same symmetry setup that I have for the other one. Just put this one in, and that'll get that all nice and set up for us. Okay, and that just leaves us with the backrest to do. Okay. All right, so now we just need to do the backrest. So this thing goes up at an angle. It's got like a half curve here, and then it goes around to the back. So what we need to do is we need to make sure we've got the seat rest angle set up properly first. That looks about right. Maybe. Nope, that's not what we want. We want to adjust just the spline. Nope. Okay. All right, let's take a look at our ref. This might be too far out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the polygons here. Oops. All the polygons here. Shift it forward a touch. Okay. So now what we can do is we can do the last part, which is going to be its own separate spline. We got snapping turned on, kind of annoying. So it goes there and up and at an angle like that, I think. This is a little bit smaller, but it also goes up much higher too. So it goes down there, but this top part that we've got goes higher up. All right, like that. And I think this is shorter. And I'm just going to mess around with it until I feel like we've got it correct. Okay, so this goes on the outside of this bar, which we don't have yet. So this looks like it is in plane with the side of this, and then there's a bar on the inside that goes across here. So what we are going to do is grab this entire piece here and move it in line there. So that means we've got a spacing issue happening here. I think that these front things might be too wide. Good. Good. Okay, now we got this guy, which we need to have come in off of the end. So it's not the top. Well, this top needs to get fixed too. So we can go over like that, and we can connect over here like that as well. Okay, so this needs to get evened out MUY. This is not straight, MUZ. Zero that. Let's just double check this guy. MUX. Nope, that wasn't it. MU. Why is that not working? I don't know why it's moving it over like that. Odd. Okay, well, whatever. All right, so now we need to chamfer these guys. So let's go chamfer. This one is a little bit dangerous here because this one we can't go back and fix very easily. So the angle of this back piece here is really important for it to be correct to begin with. And I don't think it currently is. So I'm going to lower it. It looks almost straight. Okay. And again, we're going to copy our setup. The old one, put the new one in. And we've got a small problem here. Not sure what that's coming from. It looks like there's some disorganization. Weird. Yeah, I don't know what that came from. Weird. Okay. And now all we need is this last bar that goes straight across the side of it. That's there. Okay, so this thing here goes on the inside of this piece. But where does it do that? I'm just gonna guess and fix it. Ooh, that's not what we want. Okay, cool. So I think that's everything that we need there. The entire outside of the shape. What we do need to do though is take a look at the end caps on some of these pieces here and make sure that they are the appropriate size. And oops. And it looks like there's like this sort of semi-rounded cap going on some of these. So for instance, I think on this piece right here, this sweep, there needs to be a, what's up?
What tool do you use to align the points of the code?
Oh, okay. I'm gonna send you a present.
Yep.
What I'm gonna do is my special tool that I built for, this is actually a really good tip. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in my preferences folder. I'm going to open it. My plugins, no, not my plugins, it's a script. Scripts, here we go. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a folder, or call it center X. Oh, there's actually a few scripts in there. Okay, and oops, this needs to get taken out of it. And I'm going to zip this, send to compressed. It's called center X. We can delete this now. This guy. Control X, put it on my desktop. Okay, and now I'm going to upload it to the class folder. Center. Oh, it's there twice. Open. Okay, so now it's in the class folder. So what you guys are going to do, if you want to get the same tool that I have to straighten things out, what you're going to do is you're going to download that file I just uploaded, and you are going to go into Edit, Preferences, Open Preferences folder here, and you're going to take that folder and you're just going to paste it into Library Scripts. You're just going to paste it in so that it looks like this. Let me know when you've pasted it in there, and then I'll show you the other steps to set it up.
Okay. It's Edit, Preferences, and
Then you go Library,
okay.
Scripts, and that's where you'll paste it.
Plugins, right?
No, Scripts.
Scripts.
So Library and then Scripts.
I don't see it. Oh,
If you want to share your screen, I might be able to help you walk through it.
yeah. Here I am. I don't see like library.
Okay, so down at the bottom it says Abrir Carpeta de Preferences. Down at the very, yeah, there you go. Okay, there's Library, and there's Scripts.
Here's Scripts. So
and then you paste it in there. Yeah.
Oh. Great.
Okay, cool. So that's the first half of it. The second half, I'm gonna stop watching here. How do I stop watching? Anyway. Okay, so the second half of it here, are you sure you want to leave? No, I don't want to leave. Okay, so the second half of it here is once it's installed, you're going to need to reboot Cinema 4D.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so now that it's rebooted, your script that you have there should show up in user scripts over here, hopefully.
I think you are not showing your screen.
Oh, my bad. Okay, it should show up in extensions user scripts.
Extensions. Okay. Okay, yeah. Center
Does it?
X, center E, center C.
Great, great, cool. So what we need to do now is we need to go up into Window, Customization, Customize Commands.
Okay, window.
Customization, Customize Commands. Or you can hit Shift F12.
Sheet F12.
Shift F12, yeah. And it should bring up the Customize Commands menu.
Oh, it doesn't work.
Oh,
Or
okay.
maybe
Well,
wait, function Shift 12. Oh yeah, there it is.
okay, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look for set point value. So up in this name filter up at the top, click set point value. And this is the previous tool that was just sitting on MU. What we need to do is we need to slightly change the hotkey for it. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this tool, and in this little shortcut menu down here at the bottom, what we're going to do is we're going to type MUU.
Okay.
And you're going to click assign.
But in the new shortcuts, in the new scripts.
Yes. Right. So we need to change this one first. This is the first thing that we need to change. Otherwise, we'll get an error when we do the other ones. So for set point value, just type in MUU as the shortcut and then click assign.
MUU. Okay. Assign.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to type in center X. Oop, center. Oh, and we're going to go down to center X here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to click on this guy, and what you're going to do is you're going to type in the shortcut as MUX.
MUX. Okay.
And then assign it, and then you'll do the same thing for Y and Z, where you just type MUY and then MUZ.
Okay.
And you make sure to assign it.
MUC. Okay.
Okay, cool. So now that's all set. What you can do now is you can grab multiple points, and when you center them, when you type MUY, what it'll do is it'll center it on the Y-axis. If you do that for X, it'll do it on the center axis, and MUZ, and it'll do it on the Z-axis for you.
Okay.
So what I did there, what we just did, was you imported a script to Cinema 4D that basically runs a tool in a certain way, and then you assigned it to a hotkey, which is what that last bit was. So you can download other things off the internet, and if it's a script that you use super frequently, you can reassign the hotkeys in Cinema 4D to like really easily access it, which is what we were doing.
Okay.
So, yep. So now you can just type MUX, MUY, and MUZ, and you'll center all your points out really nicely.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So now what we're going to do here, I'm not liking the amount of rotational segments on this. Like we can sort of see that, and I don't think we need to round off these corners. Those are fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to boost the number of rotational segments here so that these look a little bit more round. What I'm also going to do here is I'm going to adjust the caps on all of these here so that they're connected, so that they have a little bit of a rounding on them here. So if we go rounding like this, what we can do is we can even set the size of it if we want to. Separate bevel controls. No, we don't need to change that. Segments, shape depth. So I'm going to go size and change the shape depth. And this is modifying the roundness of it here, so we don't need to go as far out. Okay, so shape depth. There you go. That's probably close enough. We could go in and we could do a little bit more detailing on it, but that'll just add a nicer rounding to our parts there. Also, one thing I'm seeing is that this line is not quite as nope. This is all I want to edit, guys. Here we go. This is not quite in the right position, so I'll move that over. And now we have all of the required parts for this looks like it's not quite far enough down. Okay, that looks like it should be sitting in the right spot. And all right, so we've got our chair here. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to add the leather in. So let's start with this one here. There's some interesting tools in here that'll be useful for doing that. I'm gonna close my other Cinema 4D that I accidentally opened. In fact, I'm gonna unpin it because I accidentally opened it too much. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect leather from this side over to this side here. And to do that, we're going to what's the best way to do this? What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw it from the front, I think, so that we get the right width. And then what we'll do is we'll adjust the extrusion afterwards. So what I'm going to do is it looks like it goes from the bottom around the pipe. Nope, that's not what we want. We've got another sweep line active. So we need to start a new one here. Okay, so it looks like it goes from like here-ish down around the shape, around this, and then it comes back over here, and it goes out to the center. Like that. And now we're going to do another trick here. I'm going to straighten these guys out, M-U-Y. Okay, so we're going to do another trick here, and that is the mirror tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab all the polygons here, and I'm going to go tools. Is it tools or is it in here? Mirror. Okay, clone mirror. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror it over the axis here. And fortunately, we had it set up correctly so that like these default settings will allow us to mirror the object properly over the plane here. But if we were doing it from another side, we'd have to adjust this. So in this case, it works. And if you have designed your chair to be facing right plane instead of front plane, then you're going to have to adjust. You're going to have to adjust your settings. But this will do what we're looking for it to do. And then the last thing we need to do here is all it did was mirror it. It didn't actually connect the pieces here in the center. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this guy and go MQ, which is weld, and click. And what that'll do is it'll connect the two halves into each other so that this point that's here in the center is just one point instead of 2 endpoints of lines. And then after you've welded it, you can even delete it too because we don't necessarily need it. Okay, so now we've got our cloth thing here. And what we need to do is we need to extrude it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Extrude Tool, drop the spline in, and as you can see, it's automatically extruded it in the right direction for us. It is a smarter tool than it used to be. So what I'm going to do is go mesh axis, center axis 2, so that it's in the right spot. And then we can move this over to where it needs to begin. And what we can do is lower it down to the right spot and then rotate the entire extrude. But one thing that we need to do is we need to move its center point so that it's center pointed to that, which we don't. It's not in a good spot right now. So what I'm going to do actually here is I'm going to hold Alt. I'm going to re-add the extrude to it. So now the extrude, because we updated where the spline was when I did mesh center axis 2, and I hold Alt, what it'll do is it'll parent the extrude to the same spot correctly. Okay, so there's that. And now what we can do is we can rotate the extrude. Oops. Turn that off. Now we can rotate the extrude so that it follows the pipe all the way down. Okay, so now we've got that, and all we need to do to get this working properly is we go into the extrude and we can extrude how far down the pipe it's going here. Okay, so that that should do it for that part. And what we need to do now is we need to create a simulation for this piece here. So first thing we're going to do is make it editable. But before we make it editable, I'm going to duplicate it in case we screw it up. So we can just get this thing out of the way and drag it down to the bottom over here. Close it up. So we're just going to call this backup. We're going to call this seat backup. And this one is going to be editable, called seat. And what I need to do is I need to grab all of the, oops, we don't have enough subdivisions in this, so that's why we save it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to increase the number of subdivisions. So for the simulation to work properly here, what we're going to want is an even number of polygons happening in here. So we, in addition to changing how many subdivisions are going front to back, we're also going to want to even these guys out too. So what I'm going to do is switch it over to uniform. And as you can see, there's a much more even distribution of polygons happening in there, which is good. But we also need an even amount of polygons going front to back. So to do that, we'll go into the extrude and increase the number of subdivisions here. And that'll give us a nice even mesh here that will simulate properly when we run it. So now we can make it editable, just like that. And what we need to do is we actually need to belt these in place. So these guys right here, we don't necessarily want to move. So we just need a little bit of simulation in here, but we don't want the entire thing to like go crazy on us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the row of polygons that are, I think, right here. I think that's correct. No, I selected too much. Like that. Okay, those are good. And we also need to do it on the opposite side in the same spot. Like that. That. And like, oh, I didn't hold shift. Shift click this. Okay, cool. So these guys are going to be belted. So I'm going to go into the simulation tags. I'm going to go belt cloth. We're going to drag the extrude into the belt cloth. We're going to click set. And what this will do is it will lock all of those points into position. I'm going to save my selection here. I'm going to go store selection just in case. Get rid of all the extra ones. I don't know why it keeps creating all those extra ones. Okay, so I think that's in the right spot. And what we also need to do here is we need to add a cloth tag. So this is going to become cloth. And then this bar that it's attached to right here, this guy. Oh, this guy is going to be a cloth collider. So simulation tags, cloth collider. So what it'll do is it'll interact with this piece, hopefully. So extrude, click set. Set. Maybe it needs to be points. Okay, cool. So now they've turned yellow. I've grabbed all the points in there. I've turned them yellow with this belt. What that's going to do is it's going to lock them in place. So the only part that's going to simulate is this. So now when we run our simulation, we go, woo, it's very droopy. It is super, super stretchy. I mean, it doesn't look bad. It's just stretchy AF. Okay, so what we're going to do is turn down this. And we're also going to add iterations to it. So I'm going to go to much less flexion, and then let's also increase the iterations. Let's go down to maybe 5 or something and see what happens here. It's still too flexy. So let's go down to 1% flexion. That did not fix it for us. Stiffness. Nope, that only goes up there. Man, I don't know what these mean. Okay, so here's an interesting tip. If you're ever confused about something, you can right-click on it and bring it into the help. Flexion, as the name suggests, these springs make it possible for the cage to flex. Springs are created but that connect an individual point, polygon given points. 0%. Rubber. 0% rubber. We got that correct. The question is, why is this so stretchy? That does not appear to be correct. Let's try turning this up because it did a better job. It's awfully bouncy. There's a lot of gravity happening here too, so let's turn down the gravity. Oh, set it to -1. And there's also wind happening. That's better. Cool. So we can say, all right, I like where we're at on this here. And now what we can do is we can delete the tags on it. And what it'll do is it'll leave it in place where it was. So the simulation will stay at the location it was before after we've run it. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think that looks all right. It might be bonking against the front here a little bit, but I think that's okay. And if it really matters that much, we can just slide it back a touch. Okay, so there we go. So now we've got like very subtle bend and very subtle sort of wrinkles happening in here that I think will work out pretty well for us. All right, so this is set. We're good on this. And now what we can do is we can go in here with this let's see here, no, not cloth cache. We need cloth tool. Where is it? It's called cloth surface. Here we go. And we can make this a child of that. And as you can see here, it's increased our stretching there a little bit. And what it also does really nicely is it adds thickness if we need to. So as you can see, now we've got the cloth got some added thickness there, which we want. Increase the subdivisions, and this will smooth it out and stuff. All right, cool. So we're just going to call that good. Maybe we don't even need that. No, we do. Bulging. Woo, what's even going on there? Point 0.01. Point 0.1. Point 0.5. Okay, well, that'll add some extra detail and stuff there for us, which we sort of want. So I'm going to call that good. It's not perfect, but it'll do for what we need. And then fortunately on this one here, we don't have to do as much work because we can duplicate it from side to side. And then we have these two in the back that we need to do next. But that's how you can add wrinkles and stuff to this. And what we'll do next is we'll use a normal map, maybe a normal map to add some stitching lines where the leather wraps back on itself here, and hopefully it'll show up nicely. We'll see. And then after that, we can add in the rivets in the place, the connectors in the places that they need to be. All right. So anyway, let's go and add this. So and one change that I'm making this time around is I'm giving some extra room for the leather to wrap properly. Okay, so this is in place correctly. What we can do is we can move it over here like that, do the extrude on it. It is extruding in the wrong direction. So let's go -50 on this maybe. A little smaller, -45. And I think we may have started it a little bit too far over. We'll call that good. I don't know if that's correct, but we'll call that good. And if we aren't concerned about the wrinkles and stuff on it, we can actually just skip directly to cloth surface rather than running a simulation. And if we wanted to, we can also just simulate it ourselves, which would be easier. So if I hold control, what I can do is add an extra point to the line and then, oops. And then we can just stretch it ourselves. Oh, weird. Like that. So now there's a little bit of flex. There's no like wrinkles in it like we've got on the bottom. And I'm not sure that we want these wrinkles down here. Like the jury's out on it. Okay, so with this part here, we can call that good. And we can go into our cloth surface and add that to extrude our piece. So I'm going to go 1 to add some thickness to it. That'll do. And we can symmetry it now. Like that. Now we got 2 sides. Okay, pretty happy with that. And now we can put in the piece along the back here, and we might be able to just copy this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this and copy paste it and rotate it 90 degrees. That, rotate it 90 degrees like that. And then we can just move it up into place. It should be pretty close, but not quite long enough. So what we need to take a look at here is the position of the extrude in comparison to the cloth surface. So this spline here doesn't have its axis set correctly, I don't think. Okay, so now the extrude, nope, the extrude gets applied there. Let's delete this. And then the cloth surface gets also applied. So I'm just holding down Alt to make everything properly parented. And that should make it a little easier to place. As you can see, everything's realigned here. Okay. And we fortunately set ourselves up some nice manageable manageable angles here. Set it automatically to 15 degrees, which is nice. And now all we need to do is grab the points that are on this spline right here and shift it out to over here. So I think that should, not quite, line it up. Good. Add 1 centimeter of cloth there. Okay, I think that's all right. And then we can do the same thing on the other side, just grabbing the points. And moving it over. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. And all we need to do now is duplicate it. So just go Control C, Control V. Let's set it to Object. Let's grab this guy and shift it up. Oops. Let's go Control A to grab everything and move it up like this. The extrude is too big. I think it's probably too big on the bottom one too. Cool. All right, so we need to probably go in there and take a look at the placement and sizing on these two pieces. I think this top one needs to be bigger. Cool. All right, and what we can also do is we can grab this center point here and move it. Nope, not that. We're just going to move the center point here back a little bit and then down. So what happened is the extrusion on this inverted for some reason. There you go. So that'll add some backward sag. But what we also need to do is we also need to, that's not working. So I guess we'll just leave it like that. And then we can do that on this one too. It's likely going to also invert, which we don't want. So just set it to negative and that'll fix it. Okay, cool. So now we have our chair here. It looks like we have some issues with our splines with these splines being intersected. Okay. I think these two also need to get adjusted a little bit. Perfect. And is that also a problem up here? Yes, it is. So as you can see here, this is like a really good way to work. Keeping everything procedural like this, it'll let us go back and make modifications like this at the last minute. Whereas what we did on the chair where we simulated this, like, I don't think it was bad, but it was adding a lot more potential problems into the system than it was solving, which is a little frustrating. Okay. And then this, oops, this needs to get moved back. Oh, it's these two that need to get moved back. Whoop, like that. This one forward like that. All right, cool. So I'm going to call that good. Okay, so now we have our chair. Yay. Let's see. I think that's how it is on the real one. So I'm not. I think it's probably fine. This is a little janky. It's good. I'm not sure I like this bulging thing that's happening on this one. Yeah, and I'm also slightly disappointed that we don't have the stitch line there. So obviously there are some downsides to running a simulation like this, including that we can't go back and fix it. Whereas on these guys, it was really easy to fix. So I'm glad we did the simulation. I think that'll help with realism and stuff, but it just doesn't look as good as okay, we're just gonna do it the old-fashioned way here. And let's go KK. This will allow us to add a cut back into the line here. Go like that. And this is in need of being put into a cloth surface. And the extrusion is going the wrong direction. Okay, that's a little better, but also we can go through and we can fix these points right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go KK and add a cut right here. And then with this front point here, we're going to move it over like that. And this one can come up like that. Good. Okay, and then so this is why we want to save it. This is like exactly the reason why you want to create a backup, because sometimes you'll do something and you'll be like, later on. We might also be able to fix this by hitting negative on this. Yep, there we go. And now our splines are in the right spot. There you go, we can fix that, fix that. This can also get adjusted, so that's a little bit less weird over there. That's good. Okay, I'm much more satisfied with what we did here than what the first one looked like. This is like way smoother. Okay, cool. So chair, done. Now what we need to do is we need to go through and do some UV editing and painting in some stitching lines here where the things join up. And then we also need to add some extra geometry over here. Oh, I see what that is. All right. We might also be able to adjust these guys. So one thing I'm not liking that I can see here is when we zoom in really close on this, we can see the geometry. So as you can see, there's not a whole lot of geometry going along the back. We set this to uniform. It might be a little bit much. Let's go down to 4. Now you've got a much more generous amount of geometry to work with. Also set that to uniform. Lower a bit. Increase the subdivisions here. Okay, so that'll be good. If we ever decide to do any sculpting on this, that'll be really helpful that we did that. The sculpting isn't going to work super well because these two faces are super close to each other, but it's a good option. So I'm just going to go through and fix all of these. This is a little bit much again. And we also should add a couple of these. Good. And let's do that to the seat base as well. Okay. All right, that I'm pretty satisfied with. Okay, cool. So this would be the point where we would want to double check that we have enough subdivisions. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. Oops. Make sure we have enough subdivisions in the rounded parts, and make sure that our pipes are round enough, making sure you've got enough horizontal loops and stuff going around there. There's something wrong with this one. Which one is this? Yeah, see how we've got some overlap happening here? What is that coming from? It's 0. Oh, you know what it's coming from? It's on the inside of the pipes. There's caps on both ends. So if we turn off, yep, there we go, fixed it. So we left the cap on one end, and we turned it off on the other. So I don't think there's supposed to be caps on either of them, actually. And we should probably do that on all of these pieces that we can't see the end on. Yep, that one fixed it. So the ones that have the symmetry happening on them, we want to turn off the caps for. Fixed. And what is this one? This one is that bar on the side, which I think we need the caps on for. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. So that I think that's all the geometry fixes we needed to make there. Okay. Cool. So now we need to figure out these little things that are connecting things together. Oh, and we made a mistake over on this one. Got caps turned on for both of those. Yeah, so we made sure we got our caps turned on. Otherwise, we'd be able to see in those holes, which we don't want to do. All right. Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at our image here, and it looks like they're just little black rivets. Like these look like they should be pretty easy to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull out a cylinder and do it as lazily as possible. So get a cylinder. We could make holes in the geometry for these screws to go through, but we don't need to because I don't think they're going to show up enough. So let's take a look at from the side view so we can figure out exactly where they need to go. So one of them goes right here, and we can move it over to the side, close it, make it a little smaller there. And now what we can do is we can just increase the length of it like that so it sticks through. And I think it'll probably show up on both sides so we can actually see in a side view over here how long we need to make it. So let's go height, just like that. Yeah. All right, cool. So that is one of them. And we can copy and paste it. Move it over to here. Copy paste, and we can move it over to here. I'm just dragging it over. Good. Okay, and these will be black, but other thing we can do here is we can grab a null, put all these guys in the null, and then put this null into the symmetry. Hopefully it's going over the right axis here. Is it? It is. But one thing is I feel like they're sticking out a little bit too much here. So if we fix it on one side, it'll fix it on both sides. And because we duplicated them the way that we did, we can actually see. Oh, I don't want to just do one. I want to do them all. And we can also go MUY and align them, I think. I think that aligned them. Maybe it didn't. Maybe that only works on points. It only works on point values. Well, maybe. Yeah, it's not going to work in this case. Okay, but anyway, that's fine. So what we're going to do here is we are going to reduce the height of all of them. So now they're sticking out less. We just want them coming out a little bit here. Just like that. I think that's probably about perfect. Okay, so those I think are all the connectors that exist on the chair, except for back here, but I can't see what that connector is in the images. Oop, and we're also missing an end cap here. So whatever this piece is, we need to turn on one of the end caps. Start cap, there we go. It's just the other cap that we don't need. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty happy with how this has come out so far. So what we need to do is we need to not subdivision surface. We need to do a UV edit on these pieces here. So these guys are fine. These ones are just going to take metal. Oh, these cylinders, we can also do some fillet caps on. Let's go down to 2 and then make this super tiny. Let's go down like 0.1 or something like that. What that'll do is it will make these guys have a nice little shiny edge on them, so they'll hopefully show up a little bit better when we render later. Okay, cool. All right, so now the most important things to UV unwrap are these guys. And I think for that to happen, well, for that to happen, we have to make them editable. Okay, so in that case, what we have to do is we have to grab all of them. That's a cloth, that's a cloth, that's a cloth, and then I think this is also a cloth. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to make all of these guys editable. So I'm just going to go click make editable. As you can see, now we have a geometry piece for all of them that is adjustable by us. Drag these out like this. We can delete all of this. Did we save it? No, we didn't. We did duplicate. All right. So again, because we want to, because we might want to go back and fix them later, we're just going to create duplicates and make them invisible and move them down to the bottom, because we already did that with this one. Nope. Okay, so this, and this. No, this. Okay, so these guys we need to make editable. We're just going to pull the geometries out, delete their remaining nulls. What is this? Oh, these are the dots. That's good. We want those there. The rest of them are fine in symmetry. They're just the pipes, so they're all set up properly. It's these guys that need adjusting. So what we should do with them here is we need to get to UV unwrap. How do we do that? There we go. And we'll go Control A, grab all the geometry for this. And we will go UV unwrap. No seam or boundaries are defined by UV in the UV meshes. Please select the edges or polygons to define the seams. Okay, so what I think that means is we have two different groups of polygons here, and it doesn't want that. Maybe optimize. Please consult the documentation. I am consulting the documentation. Relax UV error. There you go. Okay, so now they're all set out in different strips. So what we're looking at over here are the edges. All of these long thin lines are the edges here, which is good because we are going to want to put a different material on them. And then these are all the tops and the bottoms of it. Okay, we can do that for this one too. You go to UV unwrap. Come on, please. Why is that not working? Oh, it's because it's already been unwrapped. So all we're doing here is we're just packaging it so that they're separate pieces. Okay, and that's good because we're going to want to be able to put drawings on both the top and the bottom of all of these. So apply, so just separating it out and making it all fit nicely. And this is going to be really useful when we go over to Keyshot later. It'll enable us to put proper UV wrapped textures on all of these. Okay, so now what we need to figure out how to do is how to paint on this surface the little dots. So I think what we're going to want to do is go in with a bump map on this, and that will enable us to get that sort of like nice stitched look. But I don't know how to do that off the top of my head. Haven't done it. I don't know if there's going to be a paint tool that'll allow us to do like a dashed line like I want to do. Okay. All right, so all we need to do here right now with this is paint in exactly where the stitching is. So I know this is the right tool. What we need to do is set up spacing maybe on these. Let's see here. Which one are we going to draw on? Oh, this geometry is all screwy. Oh, gosh darn it. I didn't see. This is why you need to go back and double check before you. That's fixed. That's fixed. I'm pretty sure I fixed this as well. So what might need to happen here? Man, that's annoying. All right, well, we might be able to just fix it by hand. I don't want to do this, but that might be what's required here because it looks like we only need to adjust just a few little edges here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab just the edges on the top here that need fixing. Just do something like that. Oops. Okay. And then here in the front, this is not perfect. This is a little bit cheaty. I'm just going to adjust that a little bit. Yeah, like you really, really need to go through and double check your work because of things like this. This will show up in the render later. There you go. Okay, that's not perfect, but it'll have to do for what we're doing here. And I think it's mostly been fixed on the other side. Yeah, there's no intersections, which is important. Okay, so we don't need to update the UVs because we chose to fix it in that manner. This looks shitty now, though. What is going on here? Okay, that's better. I think that was the only thing that was standing out to me. Okay, that's fine now, I think. Okay, so we've set that up. Now we can go into paint. So I'm going to go 3D paint here. And what we need to do is we need to create a material that's just for these stitches. So what we're going to be doing in here is we're going to go texture, bump, and we're going to paint a bump map for all of these 2048. We're going to paint a bump map for all of these all of the stitching area that we need to do. Okay, so we got our bump map, good. What we're gonna do now is we want to paint onto the surface of this. So this isn't working because we haven't applied that material yet. So I'm gonna grab this material and we need to figure out which one of these guys we're working on. It looks like it was that one. So as you can see here, what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to paint in exactly where that line of stitching is. What we need to do though is we need to set up the brush so that it will give us a dashed line. Spacing 0%. Spacing 100%. There we go. That's what we're looking for. But what we wanted to do is dash, dash, dash instead of dot, dot, dot. So what we're going to need to do here, man, 1000% spacing, huh? This is good. We're also painting in the wrong color. We need to paint in black instead of paint in white. So colors, and then set this to black. So there we go. So now it looks like it's going in instead of out. And what we also want is we also want a stretched out. Oh, needle. What does that mean? Oh, interesting. Cool. But I think we want it to be linear. And I guess spacing, squeeze, rotation, airbrush, jitter. We don't want, well, we could add jitter to it if we wanted to. So it'll go a little bit off on every single one of them. Rectangle. That's not what we want. A little bit too hard. So you got all these brush settings in here, which are kind of cool. I bet that we can find one that would be almost perfect for what we're trying to do. Getting there. it is getting stretched out in the wrong direction. This is what we want. So there's like a squeeze. Ah, right, so it's circular squeeze. Okay, so then we just need to increase the spacing, I think. Let's lower the softness, increase the spacing. Almost. More spacing. That's what we want right there. Okay, so we need more squeeze, I think. And we need more spacing. So let's increase the size. Let's increase the squeeze. And let's increase this. Well, the size can probably come down a little bit. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. Okay, but now we need to increase the spacing. So let's go up to 2000. Oh, look, it limits the spacing for some reason. Okay, cool. That is exactly what we want. So now let's go to a more planar view here so we can see where we need to draw. Oops. Increase the size a bit. Cool. How does that hold up from a distance? That looks good to me. And you can shift click. Oh, wonderful. All right, cool. So here's a new trick. Click and then shift click to here, and it will draw a line for you. So rather than this sort of like janky edge that we did over here, we click, shift click, line of dots. Perfect. Click, shift click, line of dots. Excellent. Oh, wonderful. This is exactly what I'm looking for. Cool. Success. All right, so now what we need to do is a new material. We're going to have one material for every piece. This one goes there. Turn it on. Add the bump map. That's not what we want. Go bump map. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to do the same old thing on this one. So dot, dot. We're going to go dot, dot. And we can always go back and edit this too. So these materials, we actually have the ability to adjust how much the bump map is affecting it, but that doesn't really matter in our case because we're going to end up actually doing the texturing in Keyshot. The reason we're doing this here is because you don't have the ability to do this kind of painting in Keyshot. We can only do that sort of thing over here. So we're going to do the same thing on this guy. So let's go material. Turn it on, make it editable, double click, okay. And now we can go like this, and it nicely set it up there for us. There we go. And we could totally do it on the bottom too if we wanted to. We could go just like that. And because these two side pieces are attached to each other, we need to draw them here too. Go. Okay, good. And that just means we need to do the chair. So new texture, turn it on, apply it to this. Go and bump. Probably fine. And it looks like my brush is rotated the wrong way. So we need to go under brush settings. And let's turn the rotation of it 90 degrees, which should allow us to align it properly. Okay. Let's go. There's our seam, good. Let's do it on the bottom. Here, good. Here to here. And then on the top from here to. All right. Okay, so now we've got all these. These look wrong. These look like they're inverted for some reason. I don't know what the deal is with that. Okay. So I think we've got all the stitching we need set up. All of these bump maps are going to need to get saved and with nice names that make sense. So we're going to call this the seat. This is the how do I grab it? This is the armrest. And this is important because this is also going to get pulled into Keyshot. This is bottom back. This one's top back. Okay. And now we're going to have to do the same saving for our materials here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to materials. I want to go model mode. Okay, so this one is top back. You can see where we drew our things out. That's correct. Interesting. We're going to call this top back, I think. Within the material. Yeah, so this one is going to be top back. This one is for I think bottom back. This is armrests. And then this should be the base. Oh, this is top back. This is butt. Okay. All right, so we got all of our bump maps all set up, I think. But they need to get saved along with the material. So let's go back here. Okay, so seat, and then we go into the bump, and then here it is. What I'm going to do for this is we're going to click on here, and we're going to call it we need to rename this. So actually that would be UV paint again. Texture. Okay, and we're going to call this save texture as a PNG because we don't need anything more than that. Go OK. And this is seat, I think. Let's go for school. Summer. Oh, fall, spring. So beam, and we're going to call this 507. We're going to go into textures here. We're going to call this new folder Wassily textures. We're going to call this seat bump. Save. We're going to go to this one. We're going to call this save texture as PNG. Call this arm bump. Go into this one. We're going to call this save texture as bottom back bump. Bottom back bump. Top back bump. Okay. All right, so now we got all of those saved and we are done with it here. So I'm going to go File, Save our project as Wassily. We're going to save it in here, but I'm going to call this a new folder. I'm going to go folder. There's too many S's. Wassily. Save. Okay. And now we can say we're done here. All right, cool. So that is it with Cinema 4D. We did all of the modeling, all of the cloth, everything in there. We set up the bumps in there. We mapped out the textures in there. And now we are actually going to put the textures in over here. So I'm going to import that chair, which I saved into another folder. Man, all my stuff is all split up now. It's random modeling. Here we go. Projects. 4D. Wassily. Open. Import. This appears to be incorrect. So that means that the sweeps that we imported here, because they were still procedural, didn't actually import properly. So what we need to do is import it again. I think there's a setting in here that we can adjust. Okay, so we're going to need to make some adjustments here. I think that the easiest thing to do in this case would be to export this as an OBJ, which should automatically convert the sweeps, which were procedural, to geometry. I haven't come across it doing that before, which is interesting. All right, so let's go export OBJ. Materials, geometry, scale, UVs, vertex. Okay, I think this should do the trick. So I'm going to go to here. We're going to call it Wassily OBJ save. Hopefully it converted it properly. Let's see. There we go. And all the UVs should be saved, fortunately. All right, so what we can do here is we can go in with our stainless steel texture first. That's probably the most important thing here. And we didn't name everything, which is going to be a bit of an issue, but that's fine. Cool. Okay, now we got these little black things here. I think I put that on the wrong piece. Okay, these are the black things. So these are plastic by the looks of it. Plastic. And I don't want clear. I want black rough plastic. Cloudy, I don't want cloudy. I want rubber maybe? Yeah, let's go with rubber. Okay, cool. So far, so good. Now what we need to do is we need to go through and we need to add the leather texture. And that is under cloth, leather, black leather. All right. So we're going to put that on there, and we want to have separate ones for each one because the bump is going to be different for each leather piece. Do you want to link these materials? No, I don't. No. Okay, so far so good. One thing that we've got a problem with here is that the stippling on the texture here, like this sort of like pattern that we can see, is too big. So what we're going to do, oh man, we're going to have to do this separately with each one. Is we're going to have to change the size of that material there. So the scale, by the looks of it, needs to be lower. So I'm going to go down to 10 maybe. Yeah, that's about right. And this one also. 10. Okay, cool. All right. We're missing some rivets here, unfortunately. Okay, cool. So what we need now is we need the stitching. So each of these materials we set up separately. So what we can do now, okay, so let's do the seat first. And we're going to go into textures and we're going to change the bump. So currently there is already a bump here, which is important. But what we need to do is we need to mix two bumps together. One of them being the one that we saved out. So if we go over into our folder where we saved those bump maps from when we drew them in Cinema 4D, we can import them in over here. So work projects, I saved them in school stuff, 2021, Sadim, 507. Wassily textures, this is the seat bump, which we need to blend with this material. So what we want to do is we want to do a bump. Let's see here. Two bumps. Here we go. Bump add. So this plus this goes into this. What we do need to do with this one though is we need to set it to UV. Okay, so there is our stitching that we pulled in from Cinema 4D, showing up perfectly right where we had it before, which is excellent. Man, that came out really good. Okay, and now we can do that with the other ones. Material graph. And this is okay, so this is the armrest. Okay, so I'm going to close that. This one is, I don't know. Let's see. This is back bottom. I went away from it. I got too eager. I shouldn't have divided my assets like this. Okay, so this is back bottom bump, which means that the last one here is top back bump. Did I close the thing again? Gosh darn it, that sucks. That's some school stuff. Okay, I'm getting hungry. Top back. Okay, so let's go utilities, bump add, bump 2, bump 1, go to bump, good. Now we need to do this one. Utilities, add bump. There's probably a faster way of doing this. Good. Oh, I know why it's not working. Oh, also we need to set these to UV. So I need to go back and fix that. The other one is probably why it didn't show up. Good. And now we just need to do that armrest. UV, that's set up right. Okay, here's arm bump. Utilities, bump add, UV. Okay, I think that should do the trick. Yep, it did. All right, cool. So there you go, and you've got like really nice little stitching that you can see in the light there. I don't know, I think it came out pretty good. Okay, yeah, no, it just comes down to doing some like scene tweaking stuff here. This. And let's grab our chair and let's rotate it. A little bit shiny to me.